Hello, this is Mark McKay, and I want to go through a quick tutorial on how to create objects that look like they've been carved out of a chunk of wood. This uses something in Blender called volumetric textures that are a little bit different than regular image-based textures, and they're kind of neat. So I just want to go through that. So let's start off by creating a simple mesh that we're going to make wooden. So I'm going to delete the default cube, and I'm going to create the monkey. This is Suzanne. I guess it's the mascot of Blender. Anyhow, let's just refine that a little bit. I'm going to throw a subdivision surface on it. This is just to make it look a little bit smoother. It has nothing to do with the woodenness. Just going to set that to smooth. And let's actually also create a cube. This is just to look more like a traditional beam of wood, just to give you just something to reference by. So I'm just going to make that look like traditional wooden plank. Okay, so here are two objects that we're going to turn into wood. Okay, and let's just quickly set up our lighting so it's possible to get a want to be able to see these things, so just adding in a couple of extra lights. Okay, that should be fine. So now the first thing we're going to want to do is create our wooden material we're going to put on this. So I'm going to come over here to the Material tab, create a new material, call this Volume Wood Mat. And we're going to go over here, give that the same material, just going to click there and right now it's nothing special, just your regular default thong-like plasticky material. So what we're going to do to change that is add a volumetric texture, and we're going to click on new, and here's our new let's call that wood volume texture. And we're going to instead of doing your image removing, which is pretty common, we're going to click on wood, and this now is going to show this on the model, except you can't see it in this view. You can only really see it in the rendered view. So let's open up a viewport to take a look at the rendered view. Just going to click on there, go up to rendered. And now you can see that stripiness is now on our objects. However, it's does not look much like wood at all. It looks like this weird, bizarre candy stripe thing. So first thing we're going to do is just go with generated UVs rather than the UV map, because this is a 3D thing. It doesn't pay attention to surface UVs. So that's looking, well, at least it looks like it's carved out of a single piece of stuff now. Now, next thing we need to do is make this look a little bit more like wood. So you have a couple of settings. To make something look like tree wood, it's good to go to band noise, and that just adds a little bit of roughness to those diagonal lines. Now what we're going to do is manipulate those lines so that they look a little bit more like actual wood. So I'm just going to open that up a little bit. And we're going to do that by adding a color ramp. So we're going to go under colors and click ramp, and we're going to change this gradient so that it looks a little bit more like wood. It has wooden colors. Now wood is kind of a warm color, so it's you have oranges and browns, and if you think of the rings of wood, it sort of alternates between light colors and dark colors. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to put alpha all the way up there, and we're going to balance that off with maybe a lighter wood color. Alright, and see right there we've got our first wooden band. But in order to make it look more like wood, we need to add a couple more bands. So let's press the plus and to right now I'm just adding a bunch of stops. Gonna bring that up over there. Just space them out evenly. And we're going to alternate light and dark colors. Actually, I'm going to make that a little bit more orange. And this one, so it's the last one was light, this is going to be dark again. And a little bit more orange. And lighter. And darker again. And turn that one. Okay, and already this is starting to look a little bit more like wood. And move that around so you can actually, let's bring that in a little bit closer. Although it's still a little bit noisy. So we're going to change that so it looks a little bit better. So there's a number of things that you can use to tweak the period of the wood. One thing we're going to do is bring the size down. So to give it a little bit denser, I'm going to turn up the turbulence a little bit. She made that a little bit too small. I'm just going to play with these settings here to make it look a little bit better. And another thing you can do is stretch it. So what you, because this, if you like the wood plank in particular, if you think of it as being like growing from a tree, the trees will sort of stretch out vertically. So you actually make that longer in the vertical direction by making this a smaller number. So let's go with 0.5, and you can see how that sort of stretches out vertically. We can make that even smaller, make that 0.25. And now that's starting to look like your typical bendy wood grain. It's looking a little bit better on the monkey head here too. I think I made those bands a little bit too dark, so I'm going to go back and adjust that. There's a lot of tweaking here. Got a little bit redder. And that guy too, a little bit lighter. And that's looking better. And yeah, maybe we can make that wooden plank a little bit lighter. Add a little bit more orange. Anyhow, there's a whole lot of tweaking can go on with here. Anyhow, I'm not going to fiddle with it too much, but you sort of get the general idea here. Okay, now that's good, but it looks a little bit smooth and glossy, and wood has some roughness to it, but you can add in a little bit of texturing by clicking on normal down here under geometry. Now by default that's a little bit sharp, so let's turn that down a little bit. Going to make that 0.3. So that's much less severe and it's looking a little bit more like wood. Maybe turn that down a little bit more. Whoops, that's up. Try 0.2. That's better. And another thing is this a little bit shiny, so I'm going to go back to our material. Turn down the specular quite a lot. And there, now you have a pretty good volume wood texture. Maybe turn up the specular a little bit. It's too dark. Okay, and this is a good passable. I mean, you probably want to tweak this some more, but it's good enough for using it in an animation. Now you might be wondering, what if you want to use it in a game? You can't, most game engines won't support a wood volume shader. So what you're going to want to do is bake these out. So in order to do that, what we're going to have to do is create a diffuse texture and a normal texture to receive these colors on them. So let's do that. I'm going to open a new panel here and set that to UV image editor. And so let's start off by baking out our diffuse map. So I'm going to click new, and let's call this wood monkey diffuse, and let's leave the width and height the way it is and click OK, and zoom out a little bit there. Okay, now we're going to click on this guy and we're gonna unwrap him. Gonna press, gonna have to go into edit mode first, so gonna press tab to go into edit mode, then U to unwrap. Oh, we have not applied our deformer yet, so before I unwrap it, I'm going to get back out of edit mode. I'm going to go over to modifiers and I'm going to apply this. So now it is applied. You don't have that modifier in between it. It has all been committed to the mesh. So now we're going to unwrap it. Can press U and unwrap a smart UV project. It's just a fast way of nicely covering everything. Okay, that looks good. And now we are going to go back to that texture we just created. So I just clicked there and clicked on Wood Monkey Diff. And let's maybe zoom in a little bit. Now, while we're still in edit mode, I'm going to click on the render tab over here, and down here to bake. I'm going to scroll down, and we're going to want to bake out the textures. So click there and then press bake to bake it. And that wooden texture, that volume texture, has now been baked out to a diffuse map, as you can see right there. This is a regular 2D texture. Now we also want to bake out the normal texture, so let's create a new texture for normal. So I'm going to click plus. Let's call it wood monkey norm for normal map. I'm going to click OK. Actually, I'm going to go back and save my image just in case something happens to it. Just going to go back to the diff, and image going to pack as PNG. This just saves it inside the Blender file, so I don't have to worry about saving it to disk. Now I'm going to go back to that new normal texture I just created. Now let's bake out the normals. So we still have the monkey selected, and we are going to change that to normals, and we are going to bake it. And there you see, we got the normal map just baked out. Oops. Okay, and let's save pack as PNG. Okay. Save all images. Alright, so we've baked out the diffuse and normal map for our monkey. Let's also quickly do the same for our plank of wood. Going to click over there and gotta create a new diffuse map. Click OK. And okay, gonna click on the plank of wood. Let's just quickly unwrap this. Tab to go to edit mode. I'm just going to press A to select everything. Gonna press Control E to mark the seam. That's just a quick, easy way to make every single face unique. Gonna press U for unwrap. Gonna go to the default unwrap there. That should be okay. And we're going to up the margin a little bit just so that stuff doesn't step on each other's toes. That looks okay. And now let's bake it. Gonna go over to the, we're still on the bake tab. Gonna switch that back to textures and bake. And that wood volume has now been baked onto this 2D texture. Let's save that back as PNG. And finally, let's do the normals. Gonna create a new texture, wood plank normal, and we're going to click OK. And looks good. Let's change that to normals and bake. And now we've just baked out the normals. Let's save that image back as PNG. Okay, now we've just created all these different image maps. Let's put them on the model so we have a non-volumetric one baked from this, but okay for using in a scene. So I'm just going to tab it back into object mode. I'm going to duplicate Suzanne here. I'm going to bring that back along the y-axis. Now you can see in our viewport the duplication still using the original material, so let's change that. Click on the material there. Let's get rid of that material and create a brand new material, and let's call it Suzanne surface material. Alright, and let's start adding in texture maps. Let's add in a diffuse map. Gonna click new for the new texture, and the image is going to be that wood monkey diffuse we just baked. And there, that image is now on the Suzanne, and you can see that not only can you see in the viewport there, but you can see it down here, because now it's not a volumetric texture, it is a regular image texture. So let's add in the normals too. Gonna click over there, new, and we're going to change that to the normal, and we're going to change the settings so it's a normal map. There's click there so that it knows it's a normal map, and then we're going to click off color and click on normal, and there you have, the wooden Suzanne with normals on it. So let's just take down the shininess to take down the specular, and there you have your surface shaded wooden, carved out of a wooden block, but baked from a volumetric wooden texture. There you have the two in the render viewport. You can see they're very similar. Whoops. Alright, and let's just quickly do the same for the plank of wood. Gonna press D to make a copy of that. I'm going to get rid of the current texture. Gonna create material. Create a brand new material. Now let's add those textures back in. New texture, the image, whoops, don't want that one, we want the plank wood diff. Okay, it looks good, and let's add in the normal, and image plank wood norm. Okay, it looks good there. Let's turn that into a normal texture. Image sampling, normal map, and color off, normal on. It's not as obvious, but yeah, as you can see, the normals are doing their normal thing. And last but not least, let's turn the specular down a little bit. So there you have it. Using volumetric textures to create objects that look like they're carved out of a chunk of wood, and then baking that onto 2D images so that you can use them a lot more easily in game engines or in just regular scenes. Alright, I hope you found this useful.